A sounding rocket, sometimes called a research rocket, is an instrument-carrying rocket designed to take measurements and perform scientific experiments during its suborbital flight. The rockets are used to carry instruments from 50 to 1,500 kilometers above the surface of the Earth. The altitude generally between weather balloons and satellites and the minimum for satellites is approximately 120 kilometers. Certain sounding rockets, such as the black Brant X and 12, have an apogee between 1,000 and 1,500 kilometers. The maximum apogee of their class. Sounding rockets often use military surplus rocket motors. NASA routinely flies the Terrier Mk 70 boosted Improved Orion lifting 270 Euro 450 kg payloads into the exoatmospheric region between 100 and 200 kilometers. Etymology: the origin of the term comes from nautical vocabulary to sound, which is to throw a weighted line from a ship into the water to measure the water's depth. The term itself has its etymological roots in the Italian, Spanish and French words for probe, which are sonde, and sonde, respectively. Sounding in the rocket context is equivalent to taking a measurement. Design: a common sounding rocket consists of a solid fuel rocket motor and a science payload. The freefall part of the flight is an elliptic trajectory with vertical major axis allowing the payload to appear to hover near its apogee. The average flight time is less than 30 minutes, usually between 5 and 20 minutes. The rocket consumes its fuel on the first stage of the rising part of the flight, then separates and falls away, leaving the payload to complete the arc and return to the ground under a parachute. Advantages: sounding rockets are advantageous for some research because of their low cost, short lead time and their ability to conduct research in areas inaccessible to either balloons or satellites. They are also used as test beds for equipment that will be used in more expensive and risky orbital spaceflight missions. The smaller size of a sounding rocket also makes launching from temporary sites possible, allowing for field studies at remote locations, even in the middle of the ocean, if fired from a ship. Research applications: sounding rockets are commonly used for research in aeronomy, which requires this tool for in situ measurements in the upper atmosphere, ultraviolet and X-ray astronomy, which require being above the bulk of the Earth's atmosphere, microgravity research, which benefits from a few minutes of weightlessness on rockets launched to altitudes of a few hundred kilometers, operators and programs. Poker Flat Research Range is owned by the University of Alaska Fairbanks and is the largest range in the world. The British Skylark was first designed in 1955 and was used for 441 launches before it was terminated in 2005. India's VSSC developed the Roni sounding rocket series starting in 1967 that reached altitudes of 500 km. The Australian Space Research Institute operates a small sounding rocket program for launching payloads to altitudes of about 7 km. The University of Queensland operates Terrier Orion sounding rockets as part of their HY-shot hypersonics research. Iranian Space Agency operated its first sounding rocket in February 2007. UP Aerospace operates the UP Aerospace Space Loft XL sounding rockets that can reach altitudes of 225 km. TEX-US and Mini-TEX, German rocket programs at its range for DLR and ESA microgravity research programs. Astrium operates missions with sounding rockets on a commercial basis, as prime contractor to ESA or the German Aerospace Center. MESA, Swedish rocket program at its range for ESA microgravity research programs. MAX-US, German-Swedish rocket program at its range for ESA microgravity research programs. REX-US, German-Swedish rocket program at its range for DLR and ESA student experiment programs. The NASA Sounding Rocket Program, the JAXA operates the sounding rockets S310 SS520. New Zealand company Rocket Lab is developing the highly adaptable ATO series of sounding rockets to carry 5 Euro 70 kg payloads to altitudes of 250 km or greater. The Meteor rockets were built in Poland between 1963 and 1974. The Kartika I rocket was built and launched in Indonesia by LAPAN on 1964, becoming the second sounding rocket in Asia after Japan. Other uses: The term sounding rocket is sometimes colloquially used to refer to the firework rockets used during the Diwali festival in India. The reference derives from these rockets making a high-pitched whistling sound during their ascent. See also, Aero B, Astral B, Black Brant, Boosted Dart, Frank Molina, High-Power Rocketry, Hopi Dart, Kartika Kookaburra, Mosquito, Model Rocket, Nike-based sounding rockets, Rocket Lab, Rocket Zoned, Roni, Silija Rocket, Skylark, V2 sounding rocket. References. External links, Sounding rockets at EADS Astrium page, ESA article on sounding rockets, 30 years of sounding rocket launches at IS range in Kiruna, Sweden, NASA Sounding Rocket Program, NASA Sounding Rocket Operations Contract, NASA Sounding Rockets, 1958 Euro 1968, a historical summary, Australian Space Research Institute Small Sounding Rocket Program, UP Aerospace, German, Swedish and EADS Saint programs, MESA program of the Swedish Space Corporation, sounding rockets launched from Andøya Rocket Range in Norway.